everyone. Patricia, Happy New Year, everyone. Charity, you're welcome. Thank you all for coming. We are going to have a book review. We are reading, we read it in December, Make Your Bed by William H. McRaven. And it's a small book. Usually in December, we choose very small books because people are resting and very busy with all the festivities. But we thank God that He has brought us this far. We thank God for the new year. I hope the new year found you well and in good health. And we want to do this review so we can end the year well, start the new year on a high. So I thank you for coming. And we're going to go through the different highlights of the book. We're going to do 10 highlights of the book. We have 1 hour together. And so I'm going to go through some of the key takeaways from the book. I encourage you to be active. Kathy is in charge of the chat, so feel free if you want to make a contribution on the chat. Kathy, I'll be allowing you to read and to comment about any of the things I'm going to say. We're going to divide it into 10 parts for easy understanding. For those who have read the book, it's much bigger than that. It's a small book, but it has a lot that you can learn from this book. The first time I saw the title of the book, I just did not understand, because I was like, okay, I'll make my bed. What does that even mean? How can you give that as a title of a book? Until I listened to the speech. So this book is based on a commencement speech. It's similar to a graduation speech. And it was based on the experiences of this sailor. He was retired at the time, but he gave examples of the training that they went through as Navy SEALs to prepare them for war and for battle. And it's based on the slogan for that particular university. The university is the University of Texas at Houston. And the slogan is, "What starts here changes the world." And so the entire book was based on that. That was the slogan, "What starts here changes the world." And we are reading this because we believe that the power of one person to change the world is real, and it has been seen. The examples that are mentioned in the book, that if one person can make a decision to change something, it can actually change the world. So when I'm going through the different segments, you think around that. If you change yourself, if you make a decision to change, you can change the world. We actually read a book similar to this by John C. Maxwell, Change Your World. It encourages us to focus on changing not the world, changing your world. In return, you will change the whole world. So number one was one of the key lessons I learned from this book was make your bed. Now, it's based on a practice in the Army about the importance of laying your bed. In the Army, I think similar to some of our boarding schools, you must lay the bed before you go out. And the reason as to why this is very key, it had to be well made, straight, perfect corners. And it was one of the major disciplines that they followed in the Army. The reason as to why this is very, very important is that this small task of making your bed has a subconscious thing that it does for you. If you go out into the world, if you come to your office, wherever you are, into your businesses, and things don't go well, when you return home in the evening, you will know that at least I did something right. I laid my bed. So it says in the book, if you want to change the world, make your bed. Now, we may not take that to be very, very serious, but it's something that we need to practice, even as adults. Yeah, even as adults, you need to lay your bed, and we need to teach our children to lay their beds. This practice is a form of discipline that if you start the day right, imagine jumping out of your bed and you disorganize, everything is scattered and you just walk out and end up in office. This kind of thing, you will return to an unmade bed. But if you made your bed, it's a kind of discipline that you want to go into the world orderly and organized. So as you come back in the evening, even if things didn't go well, at least you made your bed. So as book lovers, this is one of the practices that we must start. We may be doing it as adults, but as we need to teach it to our children. We shouldn't wait for maids for house helps to lay their beds. Let us teach our children as young as kindergarten to add, let them first cover, let them do it imperfectly, but let the practice be instilled in our children, that when you start the day by laying your bed, you have started with success. So that's one of the things that we learn, and that is where the title of the book comes from. Then the second, so if you want to change the world, make your bed. Then the second is it's based on group and teamwork. And teamwork. It talks about the paddling. They used to train using boats and rafts. And so when you went out, you couldn't row the boat alone or paddle the boat alone. So you needed help. Everyone had to do something. Everyone had to row the boat. If you've been on the boat or if you watched movies, and you know that every single person has to row at a rhythm in order for the boat to move forward. There shouldn't be a weak link. So everyone during the army used to paddle. Everyone had a contribution they made, big or small. They had to row the boat in rhythm. And this, you cannot do it alone. You must do it as a team. Sometimes, even in our own corporate spaces, we think that we can go alone. We think we can do everything on by ourselves. But I have learned from my own experience that we must be able to go. It's better to go as a team. If you're to go far, you must go as a team. And so the second thing, if you want to change the world, find someone to help you paddle. And that is very, 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 it's a very important lesson that we've learned from many books that we've read over the past few months. We must be able to team up with other people, get people who are like-minded, Tell your concept to someone else. At work, you cannot be the guru in everything. You cannot be the genius at everything. There is a contribution that everyone brings to the table. So in order to instill this culture of teamwork, find someone to help you paddle. I'll give an example of the book club. Right now, I'm from a different engagement, but I knew at the back of my mind that even if I'm late, right now I'm still actually in office. Even if I'm late for the review, I know there is backup. I know Kathy will be there, I know Primera will be there, Winnie will be there. This thing will go on. Imagine if I was alone. This cannot happen if I'm alone, but I know that there are people that I work with that can help everything to go well. So in whatever we do, find someone to help you paddle that boat. That is the second one. Then the third one was based on some groups of people who are always successful at assignments. Now, these people were short, They were short, let me see, in stature. They were not built so big or tall like the Americans. They came from different states. And in the book, it's mentioned. Now, these people, because of their stature, they managed to win many of the different assignments given in spite of their size. And so the third lesson that we get from this book is do not measure a person by the size of their flips. There were flips that they were using, flaps, I think, that were using for swimming, and they always made fun about them. But here they say measure a person by the size of their heart. And if we take that principle, or the third principle, if we start measuring people by the size of their hearts, yeah, and not the physical appearance, it will serve us well. Whether you're choosing a marriage partner, whether you're giving people a job, whether you're going into business with other people, measure people by the size of their heart and not by their physical appearance. So it's very important that the lessons that we get from such books carries on in our different spheres, in our different lives beyond the book. So those are the first three lessons that we learn from the book. Kathy, I see a number of comments from the chat. Can you highlight a few before we continue to key takeaway 4?
Yes, thank you so much, Claire. I'm just so excited. I had even almost forgotten to unmute. Yes, the ladies are really, really excited. Let's see, get to be here. Okay, Joanne made a comment as soon as you started off with chapter 1. She said just getting that first task completed changes your mindset, which is very, very true. There is some momentum that's built up when you just do something small in the morning. And then Charity adds on and says, sometimes a simple act of making your bed can give you the lift you need to start your day. Thank you so much, ladies. And then when you started the second chapter, Joanne made a comment that's a trigger, getting people to find people to love us and love them back. And that is what a team is about, to find people to love us and love them back, because that's the only way you can get things moving. And then Charity adds on to say the success we have achieved is a result of others. That's a very good point to note. Priscilla makes a comment and says, kudos to you paddling along with Claire. Thank you so much, Priscilla. Thank you so much, dear ladies. Just you being in the part of the review really gives us momentum to continue and to move on, to look for better books, to just keep the book club alive. So thank you so much. You're part of the team. Alice also makes a comment that if you want to change the world, find someone to help you paddle. Laying your bed teaches discipline. Thank you so much, Alice. Joanne adds on to say that we must look beyond what meets the eye. And Charity says it takes a team of good people to get you to your destination in life. Determination and grit were always more important than talent. Yeah, that's very true. Then Joanne bounces back to Alice about the discipline, high-level discipline, even tossing the coin to bounce off your bed. Remember the description of that bed, how straight it was. You could toss a coin and it bounces off. That was the measure of how good you had laid the bed. And then Alice makes a comment, measuring the person by the size of their heart, not physical appearance, takes me back to how they over-tease us short people, but we thrive. Alice, honestly, how tall are you? Oh, God. So Daisy adds on to say, but by the way, we are not few. Short people are not few. And then Shamira says, doing small tasks instills a discipline to act when in all moods, happy, sad, lost, you still act. Laying your bed is one of them. Some days it's just hard, but you keep going. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for everyone who is commenting. Sorry, it's good to have your voice. You may be hearing mine, but your voice is also being heard. So thank you so much for your contribution. And so we are going to number 4. Key takeaway number 4 was about a challenge that they had in case there was a uniform, it's a uniform inspection. Now, if you know the army, you have to be extremely smart, extremely tidy, everything polished. And so they had to go through this inspection. Now, in the army, you can never be perfect. And there's a reason as to why they do that. So it did not matter how much time you spent, there was always a wrinkle. There was always something that is not shining bright enough. So, or your shoes are not polished enough. And so many people during this training had to undergo a punishment. So whoever did not felt that this was unfair did not go through the training, and they never made it. It's a kind of discipline. So when they carried out the uniform inspection and your uniform was not good enough, you had to roll in water and then roll in sand. And it was called being a sugar cookie. So you had to walk around the whole day in that state, filled with cold water and sand all over your body from head to toe. Now, many of the trainees did not like the embarrassment and the discomfort and the unfairness of this exercise. But at the end of the chapter, they say, if you want to change your world, you must get over being a sugar cookie. Yeah? You must get over that and keep moving. And this can serve us well in our workplaces. Many times we keep grudges. Yeah? You can keep grudges for years. Yeah? Because someone did not, you were not voted for a certain office, or you were not given a certain assignment, you were not given the promotion, and you're bitter throughout, you know? So get over this discomfort and keep moving. So they tried to push people in the army to the limit, because in order for you to join the Navy SEALs, they must make sure that you're in the right mental state, that you will not be a coward or run as the first sign of discomfort. So everyone had to go through this, and they tied it to the uniform. So the uniform was never perfect. However good you are, you had to go through the sugar cookie exercise. So if you want to change the world, get over being a sugar cookie and move on. Like Kathy says, get over the discomfort and keep moving. So if you're to succeed in 2023 and beyond, we must be able to let go of all these things that are holding us back and move forward. That's number 4. Number 5. Number 5 was an exercise that was meant to kill your spirit. It was meant to push you and break your spirit to the limit, meaning you had to go through a number of obstacles, they call them circuses. You had to go through a number of circuses in order for you to succeed. Now, down the road, whoever could not make it would drop off. These obstacles meant they included crawling on the ground, climbing ropes, falling down, going through the mud. You know, I think you've seen some of those movies where they crawl under barbed wires, because that is a reality of the battlefield. It's never easy. So during the 6 months of training, they had to give you a staged glimpse of the obstacles that you would go through. Now, many of us think that life should be a bed of roses, and it's not. It has a number of challenges. You start the year well, you start the year very optimistic. You know it's going to be your best year. And then it's a year you're fired It's the year you lose someone. It's the year your business goes south. It's the year a friend lets you down. It's the year you have family issues, marriage issues. You have all these things that you did not anticipate. Now, that obstacle is like life, yeah? And they say in this particular point that if you are to change the world, you must be mindful of the circuses that we have, that are in our lives. Life is filled with circuses, yeah? And do not be afraid of them. We must go through them by persevering, by being courageous, by being brave. So if you want to change the world, you need to be able to overcome the circuses that are called life. Yeah. So that is one of the keynotes that I got from there. And then there were the next one was based on a slide for life. A slide for life had it was an obstacle course, and it had a number of you had to slide down. It was a very dangerous thing, and there was the record was never broken. No one had broken that record for actually sliding down perfectly in the slide of life. It was very, very dangerous. If you did something wrong, you would actually die. But there was one soldier during these 6 months who took the risk and decided to slide head first, yeah, and broke the record, yeah. So what does this mean for us? Yeah, what does it mean in your corporate space? Sometimes in your corporate space, you find that things have been done a particular way. There are cultures that have been established that you cannot break. There are things that happen or businesses that you'd want to start, and everyone tells you it's not possible. It's not possible. You can never succeed at something, but you must be able to take the risks. Yeah. And here he tells us that if you want to change the world, sometimes you must be able to slide headfirst into that contract. You must be able to take risks. Yeah. If you're always on the safe zone, in the comfort zone where you cannot take risks, you can never know the possibilities. You can never know how high you can fly. You can never know the goals and the targets that you can actually meet. So we need to instill a culture of taking calculated, here in office, they call them calculated risks. You must take calculated risks if you're to thrive. So it's very, very important that we take risks, yeah, if we are to change the world. If we're always saying, I must be able to know if this business is profitable before I go in, I cannot apply for that job, I'm not so sure where I'll be deployed. You can't succeed if you're not taking risks. Sometimes we limit ourselves because we're worried about what people will say. When I do this, how will people think about me? What will people think about me? And it limits us. Here, they're telling us to take risks, just like this one soldier who was able to do something that had never been done in SEALs training. Yeah, I see a number of comments, Kathy. We've done 3 points, so I welcome you to read some of the points so we can get their contribution. Thank you.
Hi, Claire. Oh my goodness, this book, it's just a breath of fresh air. The chat room is on fire.
It is.
So Daisy made a comment and said that nothing grows in the comfort zone, which is very, very true. And then Joanne says chapter 4 and 5 reminds her not to drown herself in sorrow because life isn't easy generally. And should stop thinking that she's entitled or not. She can just simply do or act and make it possible. we need to keep daring greatly. Alice says, take risks. Charity adds on to say, sometimes no matter how hard you try, no matter how good you are, you still end up as a sugar cookie. And it spoke to her in her search for another job. She was beating herself over all the applications that she had sent out without any success. It was really an encouragement for her to move on again and apply more than ever before in this 2023. That's inspiring, Charity. And then I also made a comment about the short people. If you know about the She Cranes, there's an amazing girl who is the shortest ever, as in on all the global teams, she was the shortest, and yet she scores. How does she score? She created a stunt where her teammates who are gigantic lift her, and that has really sent Uganda, the She Cranes, into so many tournaments, and they have won a lot of gold everywhere. They are a number, I think they're ranked number 5 now. So she dared greatly. She thought about how she could add value to her team, regardless of her height. So they do it so swiftly. They lift Shafi up and she shoots. Now, all the other countries have started onboarding short people because they can copy Shafi's stunt. So regardless of our circumstances in life, we are here for a purpose. And if we are to work with other people, I think our purposes really, really are unveiled in the light. So it's an encouragement to all of us. Alice says that she needs to take risks because she has limited herself, and she feels like because she does not want to disappoint her friend who is a boss. So I think she has been in a certain position, and now she wants to take the risk to apply elsewhere. Alice, go, girl. We are supporting you, and we are sending you lots of flowers. This is the year for change. And then Charity adds on to say that sometimes Admiral fell short of being the best, but never fell short of giving his best. And that is her mantra. Alice says she's really, really encouraged. We have a hand up from Agnes. Agnes?
All right, Primera, can you help? I don't know whether I can help. Agnes, you can speak. You can unmute and speak.
Is she able to? Let's see. Agnes, are you able to speak?
Agnes, you can unmute. I think she can, if she unmuted.
Okay, we can move on, maybe.
Okay. All right, maybe Primera.
Agnes,
you can help us.
You can type in the chat.
Yeah, she has permission to speak, so she can speak when she's ready. Yeah. Agnes, you can speak when you're ready. You have been given the right. All right, so we're going to the next point. The next point was based on the sharks. That was the most the most interesting bit. The night swims with the sharks in the dark waters. They used to train in the dark waters, and in these waters, there was a record that no one has ever been eaten by the sharks if you followed the rules. So they would swim in these dark waters. And they say that if you were first or surrounded by sharks, all you had to do was stand, as in stay still in one place. You're not supposed to show the sharks that you are afraid. You are not supposed to struggle and swim away. You are supposed to stand your ground. And if it continued coming your way and wanted to, they called it a night snack, and wanted to eat you, You had to just be bold enough, collect all your courage, and hit it in the snout. Now that's training. Now, if you're to change the world, you need not to back down from the sharks. There are many sharks in this world. There are many bullies, even corporate bullies. There are many sharks in business. There are many sharks on social media. There are many sharks everywhere. Now, these sharks can come in form of naysayers. They can come in form of workmates. They can come in form of negative comments, trolling on social media. You do something well, you know, and people just pounce on you and say all the negative comments and all that. You can post something maybe on YouTube, and you find that you put in a lot of energies in preparing the video, and all you have are down, bad video, boring video, and all those bad things. So there are many sharks, and we're surrounded by them in life. Now, what they're saying, that if you're to change the world, you must be able to stand your ground. You must have the courage to stare them in the face and tell them you don't fear them. Yeah. and Kathy says, yes, sharks fear courage. You look them in the eye and say, I dare you. So we have many of those sharks. You can actually write some of the sharks in the chat, some of the sharks that you've experienced in your circles. So that's another key takeaway, that we need to stand our ground even during hard times. We need to be bold. I think women sometimes we are too fearful. Yeah, we're too fearful. Sometimes people talk us down in meetings, and you never speak again because someone talked over you or did not agree with your comment in a meeting, and you say, I'll never contribute. I'll always keep quiet. That is backing down. You must be courageous. If you're to change the world, you must be able to face the bullies. Yeah, Charlotte talks about corporate bullies. So we have so many in our circles, and sometimes they're fellow women. Yeah, they're fellow women who maybe out of their own insecurities make sure that they put you down. Yeah, so you do not rise. I know on this chat we don't have those kinds of women. Yeah, because we've been through all this. We've read enough books to know that there's enough space for everyone. So for us in this book club, in Project Girls for Girls, we are for collaboration, we are for carrying other women, we're for encouraging and inspiring. So we need to be courageous. That's one of the other key takeaways. Yeah, so Kathy says 2023 is for facing the bullies. Yes, we must be able to face the bullies and the sharks. So if you want to change the world, don't back down from the sharks. Yeah. Kathy, I see a number of comments. We can see those as we go towards the last 3 points. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Klaire. Shamira says, yes, bullies fear courage. Ever stand up to a bully, they'll hide, they'll run away. And then Charlotte says, yes, there's so many corporate bullies. Charity says bullies thrive on fear and intimidation. And this takes her back to childhood, where the kids who had no energy to beat up someone, they would be making noise, talking too much, and they would end up being beaten, defeated in the fight. Yes, then Shamira adds on to say it's a culture expectation to be fearful or stand down or look down. As women, we bear the brunt of many bullies hiding behind reasons like, why aren't you getting married? Why are you divorcing? Why are you having too many babies? Why aren't you having babies? There are so many bullies out there. So 2023 we shall not allow. You look them in the face and say, yes, this is me, the whole of me, 100% me. Okay, Klaire, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. And really, you are right. Sometimes it's in the comments that people make, it's in the comments that people make. Sometimes it's in these comments. It's a form of bullying. It's a form of bullying. when someone makes comments like that, you know, questioning your progress in life. Why aren't you getting this? Why aren't you married? Why aren't you at this? Why aren't you doing this? That is a form of bullying. And it takes courage for us to stand and not let some of these things affect us. And the challenge is that women, we may not even say it back, but we keep it within ourselves, and it becomes a limiting mindset. Because someone said you're too, for example, someone can make a comment about your weight and says you're too fat. And from the time they mention it, your self-esteem goes through the window. You no longer dress up well, you no longer, you know, you see yourself as ugly and all that because of one comment made by someone who may be having their own insecurities. So we need to be able to stand. In 2023, some of these things should not take up a lot of our mental space. Yeah. So, and that's why we read these books, because they really help us start conversations about some of the issues that we're dealing with. Yeah. So we need to learn to stand firm when we're surrounded by sharks. Joan says, wondering how you heal from a bully that no longer is in your life. I think some of these are the issues that we have. For example, bullies. You have to reprogram. You have to reprogram your mind, the things that you say to yourself, the value that you have. You must be able to change the language, you know, the language that we say to ourselves. If someone, for example, made a comment about how you're not qualified or you're not good enough, you must be able to daily reaffirm yourself. I have value. I am beautiful. I am qualified. I'm more than enough. I can be able to do all things. You must be able to change that language. And that's how you defeat the bully. And whatever area of bullying you have, you must be able to prove to this person and to yourself that they were wrong. I was better than their comment. So I think these are some of the things that we need to overcome. Yeah. Thank you. Then the next comment, I'll get back to you. Some comments that are there. The next comment was about the underwater training. It talks about how dark the waters were. They had to go through underwater training because in the Navy, you don't only fight above water, you fight underwater. You fight the submarines. You have to dive. You have to go down in the ocean, the dark waters. So they used to have trainings that were really underwater, black water. You could not even see the hand before your face. That's how dark it was. So you had to go through next below the boat, which was the darkest point. And at that point, you had to trust your instincts. So you had to do your best to navigate out of that, because you don't see where you're going. The lights, when you're near the surface of the water, there's light that is trickling in from around, from the boat, but below the boat, you're on your own. And at this point, there's a key lesson in there. It says that if you want to change the world, you must be your best during your darkest times. Yeah, it is very important that during the darkest moments in our lives, we must be able to do our best. What does that even mean? I want to take it back to the chat group. I see a number of comments, Kathy. Let's hear the discussion from the chat for that point. Be your best during your darkest hour.
I think people are still processing that. There were just some more submissions about bullying.
Okay.
Shamira said that we have to remind ourselves every day about the choices that we've made, and that no one should question us. Always politely but firmly say, don't discuss my private life. I think in regarding to those who ask, why aren't you married? Why are you divorcing? Why are you having too many babies? Why are you fat? Why are you small? Why are you short? So also she says, also make time off social media. Very often it's a very toxic place. And that's very true, Shamira. We've seen a lot of young stars. If you know about Hana Kimura, very sad young actress from Japan who killed herself because of cyberbullying. So that is when Japan woke up and said, my God, this is serious. And they have penalties now for social media cyberbullying. You either go to jail for a year or there's some stringent punishment. And I know for sure that UCC is also coming up with a lot of that stuff because kids are being damaged on the internet, and many parents had no choice but to introduce phones to their children during the lockdowns because of the studies and etc. that was happening. So even as parents, caretakers, I think we really must keep an eye out. If you see something changing in the child that's under your care, you need to ask in the best of ways to help that child before they do something to harm themselves, or they can just become something else. Really, someone who was once happy and all can just become so dark and closed out. So we need to watch out for that. Thank you so much, Shamira. Charity now makes a comment about the dark moments, that in that dark moment, reach deep inside yourself and be your best. Eunice says that trust your instincts when in the darkest of times. And then Joanne adds on to say, and give yourself hope in the dark moments. Shamira is asking about the law. The law is coming. It's under the digital human rights. I know UNICEF launched something, and yeah, so it's going to be a mandate for many of the telecommunications service providers to follow that mandate, because there's a lot of stuff happening online. So yes, cyberbullying it's something serious, so we need to watch out for it. Then Alice says, doing your best during your darkest times in our lives helps one be positive. Positivity improves the atmosphere around you, and it's a way of hope and faith in dark times. Charity adds to say that, like the saying, hurting people hurt others. This part taught me that I shouldn't hurt someone because I'm hurting. Thank you very much. Okay, then Shamira says you need to step back, allow yourself to grieve or cry, and let yourself go for a moment after you heal and move on. She says we all deal with things differently. Unaddressed dark times can cause trauma. That's very true, Shamira. Thank you so much, ladies. Back to you, Klaire.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for your contribution. I was reminded this afternoon I had an engagement with some students who are going back for their international studies, 15 students, and they were teenagers from 12 to 18, and they were talking about Tunisha Sharma. She was an Indian girl who committed suicide on 24th, just before Christmas. And if you Google her, she's the most beautiful girl. She was an actress in the Bollywood movies, and she had just posted on Instagram a comment, and she was doing makeup and all that. And then 2 hours later, she was found dead in her makeup room. And she had committed suicide. She had taken her own life, and she was only 20 years old. 20 years old. And there is so much that is happening around us. We must be very, very mindful, especially with our children, the teenagers. They're dealing with so much on social media. And later they found out she had done it because she had broken up with her boyfriend. You can imagine, this is a young girl, 20 years old, actress, rich, famous, all that the young people look out for, millions of followers, and just one decision, she took her life. So we're going through different and dark times, and we must be very mindful, especially with our children. When we see the mood changing, we shouldn't brush it off as hormones or something. We must be attentive. We must be attentive. And sometimes the books that we read bring out some of these conversations. Why? Because we don't have other platforms where some of these things can be discussed. And so it's important that we learn from the different points that we have read in the book. You learn and say, okay, from here I've learned to pay attention to my child because there's so much that is going on. What may be important to them may not be important to you. So a breakup with a boyfriend can lead someone who has everything going for them to commit suicide. And so it's someone else's story because we are reading someone else's story, but we need to be mindful also of our own circles. So during our hardest times, we must be able to do our best. And so we're left with 2 points, key points. I hope if you didn't read the book, you're taking some notes, and you can actually go back and read, because we're not doing this book justice. There's just so much that we can learn from each point. The second last point was about the cold exercises. You had to stay in the cold, chilling, cold, bone cold water for hours. I think it was 24 hours. I don't remember the detail, but for hours they had to stay in there. And that was meant to break you. Humanly, you reach a limit. You reach a point when even your body gives up. And so they always waited who will be the first person to break, to break. And in this particular exercise, there was one man, one of the soldiers, in order to handle the stress, started singing. He started singing in the dark. The supervisors or the army commanders did not like it, so they told him to stop. But one voice, then another person started singing, then another person started singing. Before long, the whole place was filled with people singing, off key, but singing. This helped them overcome. Somehow it reminded me of in the Bible, Paul and Silas when they were singing in the jail. Yeah. So it's the power of one person singing. Here it says, if you want to change the world, you need to know and understand the power of one person. Now, the power of one person. Our lives are filled, or history is filled with a number of people who just the decision of one man has changed nations, has changed generations. And he lists some of those. You look at Nelson Mandela, it's one of the names that he mentions. Looks at Malala, the girl from Pakistan who was shot in the head, and the difference that she's making towards education of the girl child in her country. Mother Teresa. There are many of such people. Yeah. And so we are encouraged. Many of the books that we have read are encouraging us to be that one person who can start a movement, who can do things differently. So are you going to be that one person who is going to sing when everyone is silent, so that you can make an exercise such as this that is meant to break you to thrive? Sometimes we think we are not talented enough. If he first calculated and said, maybe I will be off key, maybe no one will join me or stuff like that, second guessed himself, he would not have created that movement. So here, what do we learn? We learn that if you want to change the world, like Kathy says in the chat, start singing when you're up to your neck in the mud. Yeah, start singing in the darkest times. Find ways to worship. I'm always encouraged by Psalms. David, when you read the story of David in the Bible, he used to, he was chased around by Saul, and the first 50 Psalms are about, my enemies are chasing me, my enemies are running after me. But in the middle there, he starts worshiping God and thanking God that he's taking care of his situation, even in the darkest times. So there are many examples of people who found ways to thrive during the hard times. There's a book that I think is one of the books that you should read in your lifetime. Man's Search for Meaning. It's about a man who was in the concentration camps, in the Nazi concentration camps, and how he managed to psychologically, overcome seeing people dying in gas chambers and all that. It's a small book, but if you read it, you see that the courage can well spring from within. And so here we are encouraged to sing during the hard times. And the last one, I want to go to the last one. The last one, one of the key things was that at the end of this training, at whatever point, when you can't take it anymore, if you can't lay your bed, if you're tired of being a sugar cookie, if the slide of life is too much, if the cold chills are too much, you always had an option. You always had an option. There was always a bell. And that bell, you were always free to just walk in, ring the bell, and the torture would stop. You would just say, you know what? You ring the bell, and I'm out. And you'll be free to go. But at the end of this book, it tells us, never, never ring that bell. It means that never quit. Never quit. Continue, struggle on with life's challenges, with all the things that you're going through, with the drama in your circles and everything. When everything is going south, there is always hope. There is always a way out. Yeah. So here, the last lesson we get from him, he says, never ring the bell, never quit. Yeah. So in brief, these are some of the 10 things that I think I've mixed them up, that I learned from this book. It's a great, great, great book. And if you highlight some of these things, you can go back and reflect on each of the points that we have gone through. Yeah. Which point really stood out for you? Among the 10 points from this book, was it just making your bed? You're like, you know what? I think I need to start making my bed. Let me do this small thing. Yeah. So let us go through the points that we have written down, that we have listened to. You can even go back and read the book. You can recommend it to someone else. Now, for me, I actually played the video to my children. And it's amazing how children interpret. They listen. It's a short video, so even their patients, they manage to listen through it. But it's amazing that these 10 points, even if I go back home and ask them, they will say, yeah, number one, they said we lay our bed. Why should we lay our bed? Because of this. So even our children, the things that the books that we are reading at our age, let us, teach our children. Let us teach our children some of the key things that we have learned. They will help them in life. Thank you. Kathy, please take us through the chat before we end this session. Thank you.
Oh wow, thank you so much. This book, I just can always go back and refer to it, listen to the speech. I think among those millions of views that he has on that speech, I must say I have listened to it over 50 times. It's just encouraging. So thank you so much, Klaire, for taking us through the 10 points. And yes, Dorothy says Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. It's I think it's a German name or a Jewish name. It's Viktor or Viktor Frankl. Can search for it on the internet. Then let me see, where did we? Okay, the chats are just amazing. Okay. Everyone is amazed by the singing man. It was such an encouragement, and it's true, it becomes contagious. If someone starts singing, you sing, and then you forget about the coldness or the discomfort. So Mary says, don't ever ring the bell, spoke to her. She found the story of the Navy SEAL who lost both legs and still found meaning life inspiring. No matter how tough her day or life is, no matter what happens, she knows that it will be well. There's so much good in life, and she has to notice it too. May she never forget. Thank you so much, Mary. Joanne adds to say, never ever quit. Charity says, and imagine her neck is not too deep into the mud. Surely she can afford to sing. Okay. Joanne said it's not that easy not to ring the bell, but yes, because that bell can be so near. It's a bit tight. Daisy says, you go through what you go through. Thank you, Daisy. Dorothy thanks you for the session. She says, powerful session, amazing book review. Daisy adds on to say that, because I told everyone who's applying for jobs to keep applying. And she says, yes, it's also important to learn from every experience so that you make the next time better. Yes, thank you, Daisy. Alice says, be your best even in the most difficult times and learn to sing. Thank you so much. Shamira says she has just got some homework to relate these points to her life, the dark moments, cold ones, slides, etc. She has learned a lot. Thank you so much. Grace says, we are not ringing the bell no matter what. Thank you, Grace. Charity says, life is full of difficult times, but someone out there has seen it worse than we have. So that should be a reminder about gratitude and contentment, and also kindness, being kind to people, assuming that they're going through the worst compared to us. Alice says, thank you so much, Claire. You have disseminated the 10 points so beautifully. She will not ring that bell, and she will teach her child, as you have said. Thank you so much. Daisy say, thank you so much. This is so rich and reminds me of a book I'm reading now by Robin Sharma called The Greatness Guide. My biggest lesson is to get over being the sugar cookie and keep moving on. Joanne says, so many people who try to make others happy are so struggling. Hence the high number of suicides from the best actors and musicians. She will take off time with even the seemingly happy people. Peace says, thanks, Claire. Absolutely love this book to bits. Emotional and mental resilience are required as we go through different moments in life, while being encouraged that situations come and go. Thank you, Peace. Grace says, thank you so much, Claire. You have blessed her soul. Yeah, Joanne gives an example of those people who seem to be happy yet they're struggling, like Robin Williams. Helena says, thank you so much. Power is in small things. Make the bed, sing. Thank you so much, Helena. Thank you so much, ladies. This has been wonderful. I just love this book. It has those 10 points. So anytime during the course of the year, go back, read it, listen to the commencement speech over and over again. It's such an encouragement. Thank you so much, Claire. This has been wonderful. A nice kick off for the year.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I encourage you to read the book we chose for this year, January. It's called Speak by Tunde Oyeneyin. Yeah, Oyeneyin. Yeah, it's a beautiful book. Please read it. It is so upbeat. It is so nice. Please read it. The soft copy is there on the book club. It's a very simple book with very simple English. Let's get involved. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. And
thank you, Claire. Thank you, ladies. Have a very wonderful weekend. Take off time to sing. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Claire, time for you to go home?
Yes. I'm shutting down.